Well, there's no sugarcoating it. This is a mess, but I think we can do better. So I decided to replace that mess with a set of cabinets, tall, wide, and deep, that'll have regular drawers on one side at the bottom, pull-out shelves on the other side at the bottom, and 2 tall cabinets above that'll stack and have adjustable shelves. So I can fit a ton of stuff in there and help deal with some of the persistent mess that accumulates around the place. Now, to do that, I'm going to cut up some 4x10 sheets of poplar plywood. And I wouldn't normally buy 4x10s, but they were on closeout. So it's lightweight, but still pretty hard to manage at 10 feet long. So first thing I'm going to do is cut a certain amount off of each end to make it a little more manageable and to get some of the smaller parts started. And in order to do that, I want to, of course, put it on the table to start. I'm going to cross-cut the full sheet. So I want to lift the sheets onto the door and panel supports here to make it a little easier to then swing them over so I don't have to physically hold them up. Of course, the front guide rail bracket is in the way if I want to do that. But I have it installed, butted up against one of our slugs in the track here, so all I have to do is take it off, put the sheet up, and then I can put it right back on here, run it up against the slug, and my alignment will not be compromised. Okay, here's my sheet. The factory edges are pretty grim, but I've got a lot of extra there, and I'll worry about cleaning that up a little bit later. I just want to make this more manageable first. So like I was saying, I'm gonna just put this on the one panel support, come down this end, over here, lift it up on the other, no problem. And now just put yourself in the middle, approximately, and tilt it on over, like that. So it's no problem. And I'll just slide this down a little bit first. So I'm gonna just put that guide rail bracket back on, like that. Goes right in like so. Tighten it back in place, and I'm ready to cut. Now, I did use the rip gauge earlier to position the slip stop to get a bit of excess factoring into my first cut. And so now we can set up and chop that first piece. So you might want a little bit of insurance for this piece you're cutting off, in which case, just clamp to the track star. The rip gauge is useful in this context. Of course, the reach is a challenge, so I like to keep a little step ladder here. Something I can get up on like this and help me reach across to make that cut. First piece done. Okay, so that first piece had a particularly bad sort of patch on it that I'm gonna have to cut away later, and so I left a little extra length. And so I'll just readjust the flip stop to get me in line for the second piece of the same size. Okay, let's move this one down. Ready for the next one. Piece 2. All right, so I've done that cut on 2 sheets, and now I've got 14 pieces out of the 2 sheets that are going to be the sides and tops and bottoms. So they're all going to be the same width, but different lengths. So I'm going to set the width and cut all of them first and then cut them to length. I'm trying to think always about the efficiency of the way I'm operating. So try to eliminate setups and think ahead to consolidate operations. I'm going to set this rip gauge to 603 millimeters, which is the dimension, and then remove the fences, replace them with parallel guides, and get set to rip. I've cut those 2 full-size sheets into several pieces. They're all different lengths, and I've got 4 pieces that are essentially 2x4. So I'm going to use 3 parallel guides to rip these to final width. They're all the same final width, just so I can have 2 that are far enough apart to back up the long piece, and then 2 that are a suitable distance to back up the smaller pieces. Okay, so I have the rip gauge set to 603 millimeters, and I'm just going to set all 3 of these. Of course, you can run this under or over the rail. I'm just going to go over in this case, and it's very quick and easy. I'll just run that into the parallel guide, get the first knob set, and then bring the second knob in, make sure everybody's tight, move down and do the next one. Nice thing about the design of these is that the end is round, so it's a radius. So if you don't have it perfectly straight, it actually doesn't matter because it's going to end up in the same spot. And I'll do this one. It's nice to have these sort of slightly pre-tensioned, just so the piece doesn't move around too much while you're trying to start the tightening. We're all set to cut. And I can store my rip gauge right there. Okay, so I would like to put this rail on the rail hangers so it's handy but out of the way while I'm putting my sheets up here to cut. However, since I have door and panel supports attached to both outriggers, I can't get to the rail hangers, which are here and here. But no matter. In this case, since the plywood, as I described earlier, is quite light, I'm not going to have to put it on door and panel supports to tip it up. I can just carry it in. And so it's a handy feature of door and panel supports that these platforms have grooves in the top. And so that can act as another way to store your guide rail in between cuts. So in order to just even this out and make it pretty, I'm going to just make a reference here. I'm at about 145 to the bottom of the outrigger. So I'll do the same here. All right, so now just take this out. So the grooves that are milled in there will act to keep it from slipping off the platforms while you're getting ready to use it. The same goes for any kind of sheet goods that you put on there. That's why those grooves are there, to reduce the chance of that sheet that you set on there slipping off in between whatever kind of handling you're doing. Anyway, I'll start with the medium-sized one. And of course, I'm putting the edge that I already cleaned up against the parallel guides. So this one, can't touch the guides on the end. No problem. Take the rail and drop this in normally. And then I can cut that. There's one. And here's the other half of that same piece. Now I'll get the big one. Just for the record, I would not be doing this with any other full sheet. This stuff, super light. That's kind of the only good thing about it, really. Because it's not that flat. So now I have 4 pieces that are shorter. Okay, well, I made a stupid mistake. I forgot about which dimension I was actually going to be cutting on this. Obviously, it was too narrow to be run this way, so I actually meant to be cutting it from here to here. So I'm going to do a quick pivot, and we can just keep everything in place. I'm going to put a few dogs in these holes because all of this is lined up already. And so those are my new fence. I'm going to swing this over this way. I've already confirmed this edge and that one are square to each other. So I'm just going to put this up against the parallel guide, get it going with the bench dogs there, and because it might drop a little bit here, I'll just throw one of these dashboard branded clamps on there. Works great. Now, in order to keep the rail from drooping, I do have some scraps of the same stuff I'm cutting, and I can just chuck those here. Of course, everybody always has scraps, so no problem. And there was my 10-second pivot. And so now I can do all of my smaller pieces just like this. I can cut this piece, and then I'll just slide this one in, do the same thing, and bring over the others that I have, and then I'll have all these guys cut to the same width as those larger pieces I did. Then we can start cutting things to length. All right, so I've marked my piece. This is going to be one of the cabinet sides. I'm going to make 4 of these at this dimension, 1168 millimeters. I've set the flip stop, and there is going to be quite a bit of material hanging off the end of the bench, but it's not a problem. I've got a fence deck here. I've got a track star there. It's both going to extend the support of the bench itself, and if it makes you feel any better, throw a clamp on there too. This is the start of the cabinet sides for the lower cabinets. These are 889, and I think I'm just going to square up this end first. It measured about 90.2, so see if we can make that a little nicer. Look at that. I'll take it. All right, flip this one around. I've got the flip stop set, so we can make 2 more. And I'll do the same kind of thing for the other piece. Again, this was also at 90.1, but you know, if we can make it better, why not? Just for fun anyway. All right, so I'm gonna flip that over, cut my 2 remaining pieces, and then I'll see if I want to make the drawer boxes or do some edge band first. Try to get that little bit of hair there off the corner before I hit the flip stop. So got rid of most of whatever this is. I've never seen anything like that in plywood. That's how you know you got the good stuff.